doing my job. Hello, everyone. How are you this afternoon? It is a pleasure to be here with you today, and I thank Jim McAleese for convening such an important group of leaders, experts, and partners who care deeply about the future of our national security. I am grateful for the opportunity to be able to join you, and I want to acknowledge the many professionals in this room who dedicate their careers to defending the United States of America. Your work informs the decisions that we make in Congress every day. I'd like to spend my time today discussing the strategic environment that we face, the steps that Congress is taking to modernize our deterrent, and the work that still lies ahead to ensure that the United States remains secure with the growing threats. The world is more dangerous today than at any time since World War II. I would imagine most every speaker told you that. For the first time in our history, the United States faces two peer nuclear adversaries at the same time. Russia has already modernized the vast majority of its nuclear forces, and it continues to field new delivery systems and has long maintained a significant advantage in tactical nuclear weapons. That imbalance, it presents a real challenge for deterrence. At the same time, China is expanding its nuclear arsenal at a breathtaking pace, consistently exceeding the United States estimates. China is building new missile silos, increasing its warhead stockpile, and rapidly developing the full range of nuclear delivery systems. This is not the strategic environment that we planned for. The structure of our nuclear forces today was largely determined in 2010, and that was a very different geopolitical moment. At that time, many policymakers believed that Russia might become a cooperative partner and that China would remain a more limited strategic competitor. Those assumptions have been proven wrong. Russia has made it clear with its disdain for any partnership, and instead they prioritize challenging the West. China is not a lesser threat. It is an increasingly capable strategic rival. As everyone knows, Iran has long been on the threshold of becoming a nuclear state, and that regime has refused to give up the capability to enrich uranium. It has kicked out inspectors from the IAEA. It has done so at the cost of devastating economic sanctions. And it has also demonstrated time and time again its willingness to kill Americans, including through its proxy forces, which have sowed chaos throughout the region. This willingness to do us harm can never be combined with nuclear weapons. And this is why, for decades, the United States has maintained a clear and very consistent policy. Iran will not be allowed to obtain a nuclear weapon. Practically, this also means that the Iranian regime cannot be allowed to use military power and regional proxies to shield and to advance its nuclear ambitions. We've tried flawed deals, we've tried diplomacy, we've tried sanctions, but when those pathways were no longer viable and the risk became too great, President Trump chose decisive action. We have the most capable military in the history of the world, and I trust our troops to destroy Iran's missile shield and naval forces as the administration works to eliminate pathways for Iran to have a nuclear weapon. But our foremost adversaries, Iran, Russia, China, and North Korea, cannot be considered discreetly. These adversaries are increasingly cooperating, sharing weapons, technologies, resources, and strategic objectives. Together, these countries are working to challenge American power, undermine stability, and threaten our international security. That reality, it should inject urgency into everything we do. From force modernization to industrial capacity to alliance coordination to modernizing the bedrock of our national security, and that is our nuclear triad. Our nuclear arsenal remains the foundation of American security, which means that maintaining the credibility of our deterrent must be a national priority. So what does that mean? That means getting Sentinel back on track. The missile and warhead components are progressing, while much of the challenge lies in infrastructure, the launch facilities and command centers that support that system. We now have a direct reporting program manager who oversees the ICBM enterprise with centralized authorities, direct reporting lines to the Pentagon senior leadership. Major design and contract decisions are expected soon, which will provide greater clarity on the program's cost and on the program's schedule. Getting Sentinel right is critical to maintaining our credible deterrent that we have. Getting Sentinel right has to happen. Beyond the ICBM force, we must also ensure that the rest of the triad remains strong. The current force structure, which again was set forth in a very different geopolitical environment, is not sufficient as it is. We must size our forces to meet tomorrow's threats, not yesterday's assumptions. We must expand our bomber force beyond just the program of record of at least 100 B-21s. Considering both STRATCOM and INDOPACOM's requirements, 100 bombers won't be enough, especially with some that are always down for maintenance. We need at least 145 of them to meet the current demands. It also means boosting submarine production and increasing the number of missiles that can be launched from a current submarine force. And the Navy should establish additional shipyards that are focused on nuclear-powered ships and submarines. During the Cold War, we had twice as many public shipyards as we have today. Another important priority is strengthening the defense of the United States homeland. The United States needs a more robust missile defense architecture to detect, to track, and to defeat emerging threats, and that's the goal behind Golden Dome. 2 years ago, I secured language in the NDAA requiring the department to begin developing a comprehensive integrated architecture to defend the United States against a variety of missile attacks. And that work laid the foundation to what President Trump has named the Golden Dome. We didn't name it that in the NDAA. But that has sent a signal to Congress and from Congress that missile defense has to be prioritized. The department is still finalizing the system's architecture, but we had initial funding that was provided last year. But what we're looking at now is a multi-year effort that is going to require sustained involvement and sustained investment. I enjoyed General Gutlein. I believe he's the man for the job, and I am working closely with him and the department leadership as they finalize the design, the schedule, and the long-term funding requirements. Given the President's executive order and the department's acquisition strategy, I expect that Golden Dome will remain a major priority in future budgets. Missile threats are evolving rapidly, and our homeland defenses, they need to evolve with them. We cannot allow our adversaries to believe that they can hold us at risk. In Congress, we know that our first duty is to defend this nation. As chair of the Strategic Forces Subcommittee, I am proud of the role that my colleagues and I played in shaping last year's NDAA to strengthen that deterrent, to meet the threat, and to support our warfighters. We approach this work with several priorities in mind. We accelerated development of the nuclear sea-launched cruise missile to ensure the United States maintains credible regional deterrence options. And we preserved the structure of the ICBM force by permanently requiring the Air Force to deploy at least 400 intercontinental ballistic missiles across no fewer than 450 launch facilities. We also included provisions to sustain the Minuteman III until the Sentinel program is fully operational and to strengthen innovation through new rapid capability authorities within the nuclear security enterprise. Beyond that, we included provisions that expanded prototyping authority at STRATCOM, authorized funds for SAOC. That's the new doomsday plane, you all know that. And designated STRATCOM as the lead entity for evaluating and validating new electronic warfare tactics. And finally, we focused on strengthening the American nuclear industrial base. After the Cold War, we had essentially abandoned our nuclear enterprise. We let the facilities age and capabilities atrophy. Well, now we must modernize our entire nuclear enterprise, much of which contains one-of-a-kind facilities or date back to the Manhattan Project era, all while not disrupting that weapons production. The Strategic Posture Commission was clear that the nuclear industrial base is a national security vulnerability. The U.S. is not producing enough scientists, engineers, or skilled technicians. Part of remedying this means providing NNSA and the national labs with the flexibility to recruit and to retain talent competitively. Last year's NDAA also included a provision that ensured NNSA can continue to offer competitive salaries. And I added a provision to require the NNSA to include 10-year infrastructure plans as part of their biennial nuclear weapons stockpile stewardship, management, and responsiveness plans, and a progress report on how those goals are being met. At the same time, the private sector needs to step up and play a larger role in developing the workforce. We have to have a workforce that can sustain an industrial base. Workforce development cannot be an afterthought. We should be building stronger vocational pipelines, apprenticeship programs, and partnerships with technical colleges across the country. We need more welders. We need more pipe fitters and machinists, engineers, technicians, and we need to treat workforce development with the same strategic urgency as weapons design. I believe that taken together, these provisions send a clear message to our adversaries. America's nuclear deterrent remains strong, and it is credible. Rebuilding these capabilities will take time, and we don't have a lot of time, so we cannot wait. Let me close by thanking all of you today for being here. It's an honor to work alongside so many professionals who are dedicated to strengthening America's security. In the Senate, I've also had the privilege of confirming many of the leaders who spoke at this conference earlier today, and I am proud of the partnerships that we share, because the challenges that we face are serious. But with strong leadership, sustained investment, and continued collaboration between Congress and the Pentagon, industry, and the research community, we can ensure that the United States remains secure in an increasingly complex world. I thank you again for your work and your partnership, and I look forward to continuing our work together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator. Due to her tight schedule, she's going to be unable to take questions, but we don't want you to forget, we do have the Disruptors panel that's coming up next, and you will enjoy the back and forth, I'm sure. Thank you very much, Senator.
Thank you.
The event you guys have been waiting for, I'll help you break this. We have a moment. All right. So can you just announce we're going to take like